Okay, this is the test review for angles, and there's a lot to go over for angles. So one thing that I would recommend is that as you're studying, at least in my class, we took notes on page 9 and 10. We wrote down all the definitions and we have picture examples. So one of the things I would recommend as you're going through to study is make sure that you understand and can recognize all of the different types of angles on page 9 and 10 that we went over. And also make sure that you know what their measurement is. So are they always equal? Do they add up to 180? Those are things that are going to be really important. So let's just do a few examples on the test. The first example that I'm going to do is number 3. Number 1, 2, 3, and 4 ask you to find the question mark in a triangle or an X in a triangle. And remember, we know that triangles add up to 180 degrees. Or the 3 angles of a triangle at least add up to 180 degrees. So every time I'm looking at a triangle, I can add together the 3 sides. So 25, there's one angle. And here's another angle. So I'll add x plus 146. And there's my third angle, 20. And if I add them all together, they're going to equal 180 degrees. So then from there, I just have to solve the equation. The first thing I want to do is combine like terms. So we can combine 25, 146, and 20. So if I add 25 and 146 and 20, I'm going to get 191. So I'll have 191 plus x equals 180. Okay. Now I still have to get the x by itself, so I'm going to do the opposite to get rid of this 191, which is subtract. And then I have x equals negative 11. Now remember, it's okay for x to equal negative 11 because the x itself is not an angle. But angles, like for example, this question mark could not be a negative because angles are always positive. Okay, so since x is just a part of the angle, it's like an equation, then we could add these together. Negative 11 plus 146, and we know that this angle is 135. So since the total angle is still positive, it's okay that your x is a negative. Okay, then let's go down to the next type of question. The next 4 questions are going to ask you about some external angles. So remember, the important thing about these external angles is external angles always include a supplementary angle. A supplementary angle are 2 angles that are on a straight line, so they add up to 180 degrees, and they make a half circle if you draw that on the line. So we know this outside angle is 150, and I'm going to call this angle X. Angle X, if we add 150 to angle X, they're going to equal 180 because they're on a straight line. Then we solve for X, and X equals 30. So now that we know that this angle equals 30, we can now find our question mark angle because we have 100 plus angle 30 plus angle question mark is in a triangle. And we know that a triangle will always add up to 180. So we have 130 when we combine like terms, plus our question mark equals 180. When we subtract 130 from both sides, our question mark is going to equal 50. Okay, and make sure that you read the directions carefully so that you know what you're supposed to be finding. If you put your final answer as 30 on this question, you would get it wrong because that's not what it's asking for. It's asking for the question mark. So on these type of problems, you're generally going to have 2 steps that you have to follow. All right, go ahead and we're going to go to the next section, which is number 13 is the start of the next section. And I'm going to do both number 13 and number 14. So we have two triangles on number 13, and I'm going to put a number in all of the angles that we don't know besides the question mark. Okay, so this is going to help me because I need to find all these angles probably before I can find my question mark. So which angle of these two could I find as is? Well, I could find angle 1 because I know in this triangle on the top, one angle is 40, one angle is 50, which means I can find my third angle because 40 plus 50 plus angle 1 is going to equal 180 degrees since they're all in a triangle. So that's 90 plus angle 1 is 180. We subtract 90, and we have angle 1 equals 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to draw an arrow right here, and I'm going to put 90. Now, angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. They're right across from each other. You can draw an X in between them. Vertical angles are always equal to each other. So if angle 1 is 90, then angle 2 has to also be 90. Okay, so if I know this angle then is 90, now I can find my question mark because I know that in this bottom triangle, one angle is 90, one angle is 21, and then I have my question mark. And since they're all in a triangle together, they add up to 180. Now I'm not going to finish this problem. I'm going to let you finish it on your own. Let's go on to number 14. Okay, so again, I'm going to label all of the angles that I don't know yet. I don't know this angle and I don't know this angle. Can I find angle 1? Yes, I can find angle 1 by adding together the angles of the triangle, this first triangle. Okay, so then when I add these together and subtract them, then that gives me angle 1 equals 165. Oh, I did that wrong. Sorry, just 65. Okay, so 80 plus 35 is 115. And so when you take 180, you subtract 115 on this side, subtract 115 on that side, and then that gives you 65. So angle 1 is 65. Now notice angle 1, 2, and this angle 56, they are all together on a straight line, and I can connect them using a half circle. So these three angles are supplementary. That means they add up to 180. So I know angle 1 is 65, and I know that middle angle is 56, and then I can add angle 2. We know that those are going to equal 180. So now if I add those together, we have 65 plus 56, which is 121, plus angle 2 is 180. And then if we subtract 121, we get 59. So angle 2 is 59 degrees. So now we have 59 degrees. Now if we know that angle 2 is 59 and this top angle is 48, we have our second triangle over here. We can add the three angles of the triangle, and we know that's going to equal 180. So again, I'll let you solve that one on your own. Okay, just get the question mark all by itself, but then you should be able to find your answer. Okay, just as a reminder on number 16, when you see a little box like this, that means that these angles right here are 90 degrees. That's a right angle, and they add up to 90 degrees. So let me zoom out a little bit. Now we have our different transversal angles, and I'm going to go through what each of these means so that you remember. Corresponding angles means they are in matching corners. So if I take this top line and I pick it up and I put it on top of the bottom line, which letters would be on top of each other? Well, the A would be on top of the E, so A and E are corresponding. The B would be on top of the F, so B and F are corresponding. and then C and G, and D and H. Corresponding angles are always equal to each other. So if we know that A is 57 degrees, then E, since it's a corresponding angle, also has to be 57 degrees. Okay, alternate interior. Alternate means opposite, and interior means inside. So they're going to be on opposite sides. Okay, so opposite sides of our transversal here. And then one will be up and one will be down. And since it's interior, we know that it's inside these two parallel lines right here. So if we go opposite and inside, we have C and F. Okay, D and E are also alternate interior. Alternate interior angles are also always equal. So if angle D is 122 degrees, we know angle E is also 122 degrees. Okay, alternate exterior. Alternate exterior means opposite on the outside. So opposite sides and outside the parallel lines would be A and H, or B and G. Okay, opposite and outside. Alternate exterior angles are always equal to each other. Okay, if angle B is 32 degrees, then angle G has to be 32 degrees as well. Consecutive interior angles are, consecutive means same side. So they're going to be on the same side. So if they're on the same side, they might both be on this side. And then if they're inside, because it's interior, inside the parallel lines, it'd be F and D. Or if it's on this side, same side, inside the parallel lines would be C and E. Consecutive interior angles add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so if angle C was 52 degrees and we were trying to find angle E, we would do 52 plus E equals 180 because they're consecutive interior. Vertical angles we've already talked about once, but vertical angles you can draw an X in between and they're right across from each other. So we have A and D, B and C, E and H, and F and G. And then adjacent just means right next to. So H and F would be right next to each other and they share this line in the middle. F and D are not adjacent because they don't share a line in between them. Okay, so H and F, E and F, G and E, G and H, A and C, A, B, B, D, D, C, all of those are adjacent. If adjacent angles are on a straight line like we have here, and remember they're supplementary and they add up to 180. Okay, so I'm just going to do two more examples for you. I'm going to do number 27. Okay, number 27. These two angles are what type? They're vertical. So they're right across from each other. Vertical angles are always equal to each other. So we know that 19x plus 5 is going to be equal to 20x. Since they're equal, we know one side will equal the other side. And then we can solve for x. We want to get all the x's on one side, so I'm going to subtract 19x, get rid of them. And then I have 5 equals x. And the x is by itself, so I know I'm done with the problem now. And let's do 30. What type of angles are these? Well, they're on the same side and they're inside the parallel lines. So we call these consecutive interior. And remember, consecutive interior add up to 180 degrees. So if we add these two angles together, they'll equal 180 degrees. So we can combine like terms, and we have a -3 and a 50. So this is 19x minus 47 equals 180. And then we have 180, we can add, sorry, this should be a positive 47, not a negative 47. 50 minus 3 is this positive 47, so we're going to subtract that 47. That's going to give us 133. Then to get the x by itself, we have to just do the opposite of that 19. Since they're smashed together, we know it means multiply. So the opposite is divide. When we divide 133 by 19, we get 7. So x equals 7. Okay, so the biggest thing you're going to need to know for this test is just the different types of angles and whether they equal each other or they add up to 180. So you need to be able to recognize and identify the different types of angles we talked about. And then you need to be able to know what their angle measures are so that you know if you're going to set them equal to each other, like on 27, vertical angles are equal, or if they're going to add up to 180. Because if you're not sure whether to set them equal or add up to 180, you're not going to be able to find the missing angles, even if you know what type of angle they are.